followed Agassi onto the... But the way he's overhitting at the moment, it's almost as if his racket's a little too loosely strung and the ball's trampolining off it. Rios not having those problems.
Certainly not. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Pete Sampras was talking after his defeat by Thomas Muster. He said, "When I'm not playing here, I just find the balls fly on me." So it's a very dry atmosphere here. Remember, earlier in the week, I haven't discovered what it is today. When it was hotter than it was today, the humidity was only 20%.
Yes, well, the humidity in the desert seldom high. Although, funnily enough, after a month of rain, I would have thought it's probably a little higher than it usually is, but that still doesn't mean that it's humid. Well, he may have to do a lot of scurrying, as eager as he seems, Rios, if Korda can just remain reasonably consistent, because he's a much shorter man than Korda, and of course 2 hands on the backhand side. That'll restrict his reach further.
Nice, lovely pass.
Well, it's his day for the angle. We saw one forehand when he was off court a while ago, and then a 2-hander cross court. Now that, obviously feeling the ball well.
He's beginning to get a little fed up with himself, Petr Korda. Love back to deuce.
And again, just having to compromise a little bit there, Korda, not hitting it quite as flat and cupping the ball, being a bit more conservative, gives Rios the opportunity really to get into these points.
First double fault of the match, and here's Marcelo Rios now with the point for the double break.
Maybe he's going to win 6-2, 6-2 this time.
Second ace.
You can see the reach problem that Rios has. When that left-handed swinger gets the ball in court.
Second double. And a third deuce. Oh, that's a brilliant shot. Absolutely fabulous.
He's in really dangerous form. That's a mishit from Korda, and here he's having to chip a little bit just to get it in play. Not often you'll see that from Korda. Hit a little tentatively and just gives Rios the scope for his genius at the moment.
Thank you very much. And Marcelo Rios turning on a virtuoso performance, displaying a rich variety of skills and shots. And he leads 4-1.
Well, the great difference is that he's been given time. In the Australian, Korda didn't. Although it was a slightly hesitant start by Korda, but Rios was just a bundle of nerves. Today the nerves exorcised, and Korda not able to drum up the inspiration. There's no doubt about it. He's playing without really a goal in mind, without anything very definite in sight, like the Australian title. Number one is not uppermost in his mind, or perhaps whilst he thinks about it, he knows this crowd is expecting him, Korda, to play as a major champion, and that's undermining him a little bit. And of course Rios somewhat in the shadow, because all eyes, all cameras will be on Korda, and that'll suit Rios.
Except all eyes in Chile. No doubt this match is being shown live. Huge national figure. Gosh, 11 unforced errors from Petr Korda, and we've only had 5 games.
Korda last year was 7-6 against left-handers. He lost to Mark Woodford twice. This year he's beaten Rios and Scott Draper twice. No losses.
Well, Petr Korda must be saying to himself, well, all right, I'm playing like a drain, but then so did Brzezinski at the start of his match, and he won. Rios at the moment, he's got it. It's not a racket in his hand, it's a magic wand.
Doing everything right at the right times.
He lost on serve through 1 point.
Yes, the massive total. 1 point, 1 game. 1 player out there at the moment. Such a pity. So say all of us. Come on, Peter.
thing's for certain, though. The year of the left-hander is continuing. Already Rosetsky, of course, through. We're bound to have 2 left-handers in the semis, possibly 3 if Muster beats Medvedev later.
Now, how come you're onto this year of the left-hander? I thought that was my line.
Great play again, but what a friend's fault but to pinch your best lines. I mean, Rios has won titles, Korda, Rosetsky, Vanisevic, Semerink. Anybody I've forgotten?
No, that's about it.
Mind you, I guess if he was listening to us now, Andre Agassi would say, what a load of rubbish, it's the year of Agassi. Could well be.
Well, he'd like to have notched that point, Rios.
Korda would just like to notch any point, particularly game ones.
Well, I thought he was staying in the steered mode here, but that one's hit with a little bit more penetration. As whilst he steers, Rios can get him back.
Well, that should at least give Petr Korda some comfort. Almost certainly too late to salvage the first set, but he must now look forward to the second. 5-2.
Brian Johnson, award-winning architect.
Big third against Thomas Enquist. Here's Rios serving for the first set against Korda. Perhaps that's the secret for Petr. Slip, fall, get up and win the point.
Yes, we've seen quite a few players go over here. A little bit of grit that there is on the court makes it quite tricky, particularly behind the baseline. And it's the unexpectedness of it, because you expect to have a pretty firm footing on these courts. Well, Rios got caught in no man's land there. Might have been better off coming in, but having played this shot, just a little hesitation, and Korda wrong-footed him. Both men consistently win over 80% of their service games. They're not in the Rosetsky class. And Korda generally just a few percentage points above Rios.
For the first time in the match, Rios facing break point. Oh gosh, still can't find the rhythm.
Looking to up the pace, and he ups his head instead, Korda. A little customary bar by, or genuflection by Rios.
Set point. So much better from Korda. A real purpose about that point.
Yes, good control too, because Rios's one-hander here was not a bad one. Again, the wrong footing volley. A man, of course, who won the Australian doubles with Stefan Edberg, and a lot of success at the Australian. Well, it's a continual wrong footing now. And Rios at the slippery end of things.
Second break point. What's really impressed me today about Rios is the quality of shots he's played when stretched wide. There was another beauty there.
Yes, everything's going well, really, from the moment he served his love service game and then broke Korda. Everything's working. You'll just never know, had Korda held on, put a bit of pressure on, whether it would have gone as smoothly.
Once again, Rios finding the line here. He really has found some angles. Second set point.
Well, that time he didn't quite control the one-hander as well, and he also waited to see whether Korda might wrong foot him.
Rios has had 2 set points. Now this is a third break point for Korda.
Well, let's hope that this is the little bit of ignition or spark that Korda needs, because it's all a little too one-sided, our praise at the moment.
Yes, if he could hold serve here, it would become interesting, this first set. 3-5. Korda's turn to play a cracker on the stretch.
I have a feeling he was almost surprised at his success here.
Ace number 3. Oh gosh, that was a late call. Perhaps Niles Graf was surprised by the bleep. Korda records his first love service game of the match. And a very different complexion on the scoreline now. It was 5-1, now 5-4. Although Rios will have a second chance to serve it out.
Caddick back in the side, having been left out in Guyana when Robert Croft was included as the second spinner. The perennial problem facing England selectors of how to get 5 bowlers into the side if they want to play a specialist wicket-keeper. Caddick suffered at Headingley last summer against the Australians. It transpired to be a mistake. I think the general opinion was he would have bowled well there. Oh, that's lovely, lovely timing. Really is a good stroke from Lambert. Quickly into position, and he made no mistake.
Well, I'm afraid it's just another half volley. Now, you've got to settle into a pattern of bowling on good wickets in Test match cricket. You've got to set a field, you've got to look to bowl to it. Order of the day is line and length, off stump outside and probe away. But half volleys at this level aren't good enough.
And Greg Rosetsky awaits either Thomas Muster or Andrei Medvedev. He really is into wrong footing mode.
Yes, Rios is going to be cursing the court as much as Korda. It was difficult to get back and cover these. Now that Korda's hitting it a bit more smoothly and a bit more powerfully. Rios's problem is, of course, he can't deliver too big a serve at this time.
right in the corner.
Giving Korda a look as if to say, well, you seem to have woken up now. Why didn't you wait until the second set? No big serves in the last game, none in this. And although he's got a good serve and averages over 5 aces a match, Rios, just watch this shortened swing of his. That just limits him a little bit, limits his power. Brings the racket right through to his waist level there.
Oh, extraordinary. And 5-1. Korda now with 2 points for 5-all. Isn't it amazing on break points how many players who hardly ever serve and volley always serve and volley?
Yes, there's something very psychological about it. And they're often successful too.
Crucially getting in both first serves. Aha! And just a second ace. And it brings up Rios's second, I beg your pardon, third set point, 2 in his previous service game. It's wide. And Rios doing so well eventually to close it out. He's telling umpire Lars Graf he's got a string fraying and he wants to change his racket.
And again, virtually a break point, love 30, the serve volley, but then Korda tends to do it a bit more than Rios in the course of a match. Well, you could just see the wrong footer come, couldn't you, from that angle that we had. Chino, they call him in Chile. And if he could win this, it might take their minds off General Pinochet just for the moment.
And he has a break point right at the start of the second set. And there it is. And Korda's going to have to play catch-up again in the second set. So nearly caught up in the first, but it's an awful handicap.
Yes, he just can't string them together, Korda. His mind's half there. That's his problem. And I think it really is partly doing so much at the Australian, as I said before, but also just the expectation, perhaps, how people look so differently upon somebody who's won a major. It happened with Rafter. It has almost happened with Riesecki as a result of his final at the US Open. And it's happening now to Korda. He's been around. He's not a lot different than he was. He just happened to string it together at the Australian. Same old Korda. And he's not sure he can produce. And that may be one of the causes here.
And the two surprising statistics there, of course, Korda's first serve percentage and those 17 unforced errors.
Reason for it.
Yeah.
You know, the big serve. And there's obviously a lot more to it than that, but with the serve flowing and scoring as often, it becomes a lot easier. My goodness, just taking the wrong club out of the bag.
He just can't find it. Just that brief passage in the first set. And that's a third love service game for Rios.
Yes, just referring to Riesecki's serve, if Korda suddenly now could come up with a score of aces, even not that many, his whole game would take on a different hue.
Yes, if you weren't with us earlier, we were awaiting confirmation, of course, but it did seem to us that Riesecki set a new record of 146 miles an hour with one of his aces, breaking his previous record of 143. Mind you, there are official and some unofficial clocks, and we'll have to get confirmation that it was an official one.
A little late, but a good call. Yes, this clock here does seem a little high, I must say. Well, again, the approach shot by Korda, which at his best, and certainly in the Australian, would have had Rios stretching on the backhand side. He plays right down the middle here. Comfortable for Rios.
Well, it could be just one of those days for Petr Korda. Point for 3-love. There's a little clenched fist from Marcelo Rios, as if to say, I think I've got him this time. A set and 3-love with 2 breaks he ought to have. Korda has the skills to turn it around. Not displaying them today. Rosetsky. He's the first Briton ever to reach the semi-finals of a Super 9. Rosetsky awaits Muster or Medvedev. The winner of this awaits Agassi or Gamble.
Well, the statistics there show some of the story. Rios winning 62% of his second serves. Now, if he could do that all year, he'd achieve miracles. He normally will win only about 52, 53%, so that's way high. And of course, what it suggests is just like that Korda's not returning well, not getting into the points, not putting pressure on the Rios second serve. It's hardly a damaging second serve.
Almost looked to be a resigned look about Korda in that last game.
Yes, I don't think there's going to be a lot of resistance now. Sad, really, because of course the #1 in the world is up for grabs here if Korda should win this tournament. Sampras having lost, but in many ways I think Korda's right. Sampras still, in most people's eyes, is #1.
Oh. Well, if Korda could suddenly produce shots like that, anything's possible, but it's a great stretch. Fourth ace from Korda, and at least he's prevented the ignominy of a love set, which was looking distinctly possible. Rios up in the morning to get the results of those matches in our text service.
Well, the Australian might have been a nightmare, but this one is turning out to be a bit of a dream for Rios.
Yes, it's Korda who's having the nightmare. So almost certainly now, barring a most extraordinary pattern of events, Pete Sampras will enjoy weeks 101 and 102 as #1, because of course, it's a let. Because of course next week The Lipton Championships begins on the Friday, and it's a 10-day tournament.
Oh, that was a mile out.
Yeah, I think maybe the line judge unsighted.
Definitely.
Well, Rios doing a Bjorkman and Rosetsky here. He hasn't lost a point on serve in this set.
No, he's won, in fact, 16 straight points on his serve, Rios, because he was 15-40 down at the end of the last set, won 4 points there. So he's on a real roll.
He may not get a chance to extend that sequence there.
May never do it again against a player ranked 2 in the world. This is the second and third ranked left-hander in the world. We've already seen the second win a match tonight. One, Mr. Rosetsky.
Korda convinced that was out.
I don't know why, because it might just prolong the agony. Oh, Rios, of course, a man now truly inspired. I just hope this doesn't leave too much of a scar on Korda.
Yeah, sort of persuade him, well, I've had my finest hour and it's all downhill from here. And certainly hopes not, because he has so much more to contribute. Third double fault. And it's 2 match points. And the smile from Rios. I don't think he can believe how easy it's been. Yet even then, Korda had 2 points to level at 5-all in the first, having been 5-1 down.
Well, it'll be a good exercise in character building if Rios had to serve for it.
And if Korda wins this match, we'll discover that his middle name is Houdini. Yeah, big hand from the crowd. Pleased to see Korda offering a little bit of resistance at the end, but has he only postponed the inevitable? And certainly think so.
Terrific year, of course, for the South Americans, or terrific year and a half, with Querten winning the French last year and Rios final of the Australian. Really has given a tremendous boost. No Chilean had reached a final since Luis Ayala in the French in the late 50s. So they've had a long wait, and of course prior to Querten it was Maria Bueno.
There's no Brazilian man that ever won a Grand Slam. Of course, if I'm just thinking ahead, it's a super point.
I think the real test comes probably during and just after Wimbledon. He's got to, if he doesn't win Wimbledon, then people will accept the fact that somebody else's turn has come, because he's not likely to win the French. Although it would be good to see him have a really good go, and it may just be the inspiration he needs. Because I know for Sampras and for quite a number of people, that elusive one, whether it's the American, say, for Borg, or the French for Sampras, that's the one they want most.
Two more match points for Rios. Yes, that's a terrific performance from Rios. Yes, he was faced with a very much substandard Korda today, and that was disappointing to see, but let's take nothing away from Rios. He played really well. He won't lay the ghost of the Australian Open final, although he's coming up with his own cartwheels. The only thing that will make up for losing a Grand Slam final is winning a Grand Slam final, but that's a fine performance. Rios wins 6-4, 6-2 in, what, just an hour and 6 minutes.
Yes, well, all of Chile will be celebrating. He's beaten the winner of a major, a recent major too, and that can only do Rios, who's a multi-talented man. Shame for Korda, though, it just never was on the court today, just but a shadow of the man who won the Australian.
Yeah, let's hope that Korda can regroup and recapture that form, but look, only 6 unforced errors from Rios. So he awaits either Agassi or Gamble. Ruzetsky awaits either Muster or Medvedev. As I say, look up the results in the morning on Sports Desks. And we'll see you tomorrow night. So
time. And the Australian, Korda, didn't. Although it was a slightly hesitant start by Korda, but Rios was just a bundle of nerves. Today the nerves exorcised, and Korda not able to drum up the inspiration. There's no doubt about it. He's playing without really a goal in mind, without anything very definite in sight, like the Australian title. Number one is not uppermost in his mind, or perhaps whilst he thinks about it, he knows this crowd is expecting him, Korda, to play as a major champion, and that's undermining him a little bit. And of course Rios somewhat in the shadow, because all eyes, all cameras will be on Korda, and that'll suit Rios.
Except all eyes in Chile. No doubt this match is being shown live. Huge national figure. Gosh, 11 unforced errors from Petr Korda, and we've only had 5 games.
Korda last year was 7-6 against left-handers. He lost to Mark Woodford twice. This year he's beaten Rios and Scott Draper twice. No losses.
Well, Petr Korda must be saying to himself, well, all right, I'm playing like a drain, but then so did... Forty love back to Juice.
And again, just having to compromise a little bit there, Korda, not hitting it quite as flat and cupping the ball, being a bit more conservative, gives Rios the opportunity really to get into these points.
First double fault of the match, and here's Marcelo Rios now with the point for the double break.
Maybe he's going to win 6-2, 6-2 this time.
Second ace.
You can see the reach problem that Rios has. When that left-handed swinger gets the ball in court. Remain reasonably consistent, because he's a much shorter man than Korda, and of course 2 hands on the backhand side. That'll restrict his reach further.
Nice, lovely pass.
Well, it's his day for the angle. We saw one forehand when he was off court a while ago, and then a 2-hander cross court. Now that, obviously feeling the ball well.
He's beginning to get a little fed up with himself, Petr Korda.
followed Agassi onto the... But the way he's overhitting at the moment, it's almost as if his racket's a little too loosely strung and the ball's trampolining off it. Rios not having those problems.
Certainly not. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Pete Sampras was talking after his defeat by Thomas Muster. He said, "When I'm not playing here, I just find the balls fly on me." So it's a very dry atmosphere here. Remember, earlier in the week, I haven't discovered what it is today. When it was hotter than it was today, the humidity was only 20%.
Yes, well, the humidity in the desert's seldom high. Although, funnily enough, after a month of rain, I would have thought it's probably a little higher than it usually is, but that still doesn't mean that it's humid. Well, he may have to do a lot of scurrying, as eager as he seems, Rios, if Korda can just...
Second double. And a third deuce. Oh, that's a brilliant shot. Absolutely fabulous.
He's in really dangerous form. That's a mishit from Korda, and here he's having to chip a little bit just to get it in play. Not often you'll see that from Korda. Hit a little tentatively and just gives Rios the scope for his genius at the moment.
Thank you very much. And Marcelo Rios turning on a virtuoso performance, displaying a rich variety of skills and shots. And he needs 4-1.
Well, the great difference is that he's been given